there, I'm Cath. Welcome to my channel Made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me today for another of my vlogs. So today I'm going to be talking all about what I've been sewing and knitting in November. It's been quite a busy month. Although we've been in lockdown in the UK, my children have still been at school, so I have had a bit of time for myself to do a bit of sewing, and I've been knitting in the evenings, and I'm really looking forward to showing you what I've made. So let's get started. So usually before I started talking about what I've been making, I'd mention what I'm wearing today, but what I'm wearing today is actually one of my November makes, so I'll start with that. And this stripy top is the Kyoto sweater by Paper Cut Patterns. It's a really nice pattern, and one I've made as a jumper a couple of times before. I'll show you the line drawing so you can see what it looks like. There's a couple of different options. You can make the kind of sweater version here, and the thing I really like about it is this lovely little sleeve ruffle detail. And it's also got a t-shirt, again with a sleeve ruffle, which I think is really nice, and I'd like to make that at some point. And it's designed to kind of be a sweater, so it's designed to be a little bit relaxed fit. But I got this fabric here, which is a cotton jersey fabric from Lamazi Fabrics. Really nice quality cotton jersey. And I really wanted to make it into a sort of t-shirt top, a long sleeve t-shirt top, rather than a sweater. So the way I did that was, I started with the pattern pieces for the smallest size, which I've made up as a sweater before, and I know it comes up a little bit more of a relaxed fit on me. And then I basically, I made the ruffles slightly smaller, just because I thought if I'm reducing the whole thing and making it more fitted, I didn't want the ruffles to be too oversized. So I just reduced the length of them by about a centimetre or so. And then I basically took in the side seams and the sleeve seams, just until it was a little bit more of a fitted look. So it's kind of, it's not like super duper tight, but it is a bit more fitted to my body and my arms. And I'll put a picture up of me wearing it. And I'm really pleased with it. I thought it would be kind of like a nice relaxed top I could wear with jeans, but with a bit of a twist with the ruffles. And yeah, I enjoyed making it. The jersey was really nice to sew with. It was really good quality, it didn't curl up at the edges. And it was quite a quick, satisfying sew, and I think I'll make more of them, because I think the ruffles are quite cute. So that's my first make for November. The Kyoto sweater by Paper Cut Patterns, but hacked slightly to make it more of a fitted top. Oh, and I forgot to add, when I was hacking this pattern to turn it from a sweater into a top, I also didn't add the cuffs or the bottom hemband. So I've just got it hemmed with one piece and no cuffs, just to make it more of a top feel rather than a sweater feel with the cuffs. That was just one extra adjustment I made that I forgot to mention. And after I'd made up this top, I had a little bit of the fabric left, not enough to make a top for me, but a few little bits, and I thought, what can I do with those? And I decided to turn it into a little dress for my niece. So I made this little dress here, which looks kind of cool on the screen, matching my jumper. It's got, basically I had enough to make 2 skirt pieces of this dress, so I used the stripy fabric for the skirt, and then I used this cute cotton jersey that's white with a speckle effect on it for the top part of the dress, just to make a really sweet little dress. This fabric I had used before for to make a Freya top for my mum, and so it's quite nice to use the last bit for my niece for somebody else as well. And this dress, it's just a basic little t-shirt dress, and it's a pattern I've used before, and it's this one here, the Pansy Dress by Poppy and Jazz. Which is a basic t-shirt dress with a little gathered skirt. I made the short sleeve version, so my sister can hopefully layer it up with some cardies and things. And I sized down one size. My niece is about 21 months old, but I think I made the 12 to 18 month size because I know it comes up a bit large and my niece is quite dinky. So yeah, I'll be passing it over to my sister. So maybe me and my niece can kind of twin in our little red stripes. But that was another quick fun little make, and I was really pleased to be able to use the offcuts of this to make it in something extra too. So my next make was one I'd planned to make this month again, and it was a pair of pajama bottoms, another pair of Jamie pajama bottoms by Tilly and the Buttons, which I made for me, just starting to kind of get my pyjamas into sort of a wearable state after wearing some quite tatty pairs of ready to wear ones that I've had a bit too long. So yeah, just a basic pajama bottom with an elasticated waist. I didn't bother putting the ties in the front, I wanted to keep them simple. And I made them with this cool constellation fabric, which I got from Minerva Crafts. It's a cotton poplin by Rose and Hubble, so it's quite a nice weight for a winter pyjama bottom, I think. Not too super hot, but not too light and cool either. But yeah, just quite a straightforward make. But I was quite pleased because when I made my last pair of pyjama bottoms, and I mentioned on here that I find it really hard to tell the front and the back, but I don't really like labels. I find they bother my skin a bit. And lots of people commented with really great ideas for how to kind of show the back without using labels. And so I really appreciate everyone's ideas. And so what I did was I had a little play with the fancy stitches on my machine, and I stitched on a couple of little back on the back of my pyjama bottoms with some thread. So I like it because the thread isn't as itchy as a label, but it helps me every night to be able to know which way around to put them on. And it was fun because I never get to use the fancy stitches on my machine, so it was a nice little chance to have a go of them. So yeah, that's my next make. I'll put a picture up of me wearing them. They're a nice relaxed fit, a really quick sew, and yeah, I'm really pleased with them, and I've worn them quite a lot already. So, oh, what size did I make? I think I made the, let me have a look 1 second. I had a look and I made a size 2, but I graded size 3 at the hips. I am usually a size 2 with tilling the buttons, but because them being pyjamas and my hips measurement fell slightly in between sizes 2 and 3, I thought I'd size up just to give me plenty of room because I didn't want them to be feeling at all tight or restrictive for pyjamas. So that's what I did, and they came out fine. They're nice and roomy and relaxed. The next pattern I made this month was a really enjoyable make because I was revisiting it for the first time since I made it when I started sewing. It was one of the first patterns I started sewing with. So yeah, it was really nice to revisit this month. And it's this one here. It's the Cleo pattern by Tilly and the Buttons. It's a pinafore pattern designed for beginners, which is why I think I chose it when I was first starting out. It's quite a basic pinafore pattern. It's got a join down the front, centre front, which you can top stitch. It's got straps and you can add buckles or buttons. It's got some patch pockets which you can place at the front or the back, however you like. And then it's got a mini length and a longer length, a kind of knee length. And the knee length has a little split at the front just to make it easier to walk with that one. So yeah, I was really pleased to revisit it because I made 2 of these pinafores when I first started sewing. I think I made one and enjoyed making it so much I made another one. And one of them, which is made in navy needle cord, I've got so much wear out of. The other one didn't come out exactly as I wanted. It was one of my earlier fabric purchases and the colour wasn't quite what I expected when it arrived, and then I think I used slightly too heavy interfacing, so it felt a bit stiff, so it was never quite right. But the navy one I've got so much wear out of, and I've been looking to make another one because I do wear that one so much. So when I saw this red needle cord, or kind of corduroy, I don't know what this needle cord is, it's a fine cord by Ditto Fabrics, I just had to snap it up and turn it into a pinafore. So this is my Cleo that I've made this month, and it's lovely. It's called Jewel Red by Ditto Fabrics. It's a lovely rich red colour and it's really soft, and it's slightly more substantial than the corduroy I made my navy one in, so it feels slightly more, maybe more hard wearing, but it's still not too, because it's a kind of finer cord, it's still fairly fluid, so it's quite comfy to move around in. I added on silver buckles, I added on a patch pocket at the front. I really enjoyed all the top stitching, and I added on pockets at the back too. Yeah, pockets at the back too. And I used the corduroy for the facing as well because it's not the most rigid, thick corduroy. I thought they might add a little bit more shaping around the top, a bit more structure around the top without having to use heavy interfacing. So that's worked quite well. I'm pleased with how that feels. I mean, it's just really enjoyable. So it is quite straightforward, and it felt a lot easier this time around than I remember it feeling when I was a beginner sewer. So that was quite nice to revisit it and feel like it did feel easier. What else to note about the pattern? I made a size 2 and then I graded out size 3 at the hips. Again, because my hips measurement falls in between sizes 2 and 3, and I wanted to make sure there was plenty of room and it didn't feel too tight there, particularly as I'm conscious that corduroy can kind of rub against your skin and ride up anyway. I didn't want to give it too much opportunity to do so. But yeah, it was quite a nice and straightforward make. I think it would look quite nice with this top actually. I'll put a picture of me wearing it so you can see it on. I made the mini length by actually shortened it, no I didn't, I lengthened it by a couple of centimetres, just so it wasn't too short, because I'm 5'6", so I didn't want it to come up too high. So yeah, it was just a really fun make. I love the fabric. It was fairly straightforward, and I'm really pleased with it, and I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it. And I guess it's quite Christmassy as well, so yeah, I'll definitely be bringing it out over the festive period. But that was my next make, the Cleo Pinafore by Tilly and the Buttons. My next two makes are both using fabrics that I got in my fabric delivery from Itokri earlier this year. Which I think I talked about in one of my earlier makes fabric haul vlogs. I'll put a link up in case you want to hear more about what I got in that delivery. So yeah, I ordered a few fabrics and I had these two still sitting there, and I felt like they were saying to me, please sew me. And I did want to sew them and get them sewn up, so I thought, I'm going to make a decision and I'm going to just get them sewn. And so the first one is this one here. It's a really nice cotton ikat. They're all ikat fabrics I ordered, and they're really nice quality, really lovely, really soft, and yeah, really nice to sew with. But yeah, it's this black fabric with these cool large white spots on that remind me of snowballs, so I thought that's quite nice and wintry, so I need to get that sewn and be able to wear it. And I made it into a skirt. It's kind of like a mini skirt, and I made it using this skirt pattern here, the Estuary skirt by So Liberated, which is one of my favourite skirt patterns. Just because it's one of those patterns I think you can play around with quite a lot and make look different each time you make it. It's a gathered waist skirt, and what it's got is the front waistband is not elasticated, but the back waistband is, which makes it really comfy. And then so this front button placket is a faux placket. I mean, you can make real buttonholes, but essentially you don't need it because the elastic at the back enables you to get the skirt on and off. And then it offers a few different length options. It's fairly full, and you can add patch pockets, but there are also inseam pockets included in the pattern as well. So for this time, for making this estuary skirt, what I decided to do, because I wanted the fabric to really speak for itself, is I kept it simple. I used inseam pockets, and then for the front, instead of adding the button down placket and having cutting two pieces of fabric, I actually used the back pattern piece for the front as well and cut it on the fold just like I did for the back pattern, just so I had one front piece. And then I adapted the waistband. Basically, I used the waistband pattern piece and took out the seam allowance and then cut it on the fold again, the seam allowance for the button placket, and cut it on the fold again just to make one front waistband, and then the back is elasticated. So it's quite a straightforward elasticated waist skirt, only just with the back elasticated, because I think it looks quite nice with a smooth flat front. And then I shortened it, as I said, to make it a mini skirt. I'll pop up a picture of me wearing it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was a really fun sew. The only thing with the Itokri fabric I have found is that it does fray a bit, so I did French seam all the seams for this garment, but I quite enjoyed doing that anyway. I think it helps me to slow sew and enjoy the process. And yeah, it was just fairly enjoyable sew, because it's cotton, it behaved nicely, it didn't slip around. And yeah, I think I'll get a lot of wear out of this skirt. Another thing I like about the estuary skirt is I think it's one that would work well in the winter with a pair of tights and a chunky jumper, or in the summer with like a vest top and some trainers or flip-flops. So I just think it's quite cute, and it was quite a nice straightforward sew. With the estuary skirt, I've personally found with the sizing it comes up a bit big, so I sized down and I made the smallest size, which is a size 0. That's designed for a waist of 25 inches, and my waist is more like 26 inches, which is the next size up. But I made the smallest size, and then I find you can also, it's a bit flexible in the sizing because you add the elastic in at a fairly late stage. You add the elastic in and sew it in at a fairly late stage at the back, so you can always tweak the sizing a little bit when you do that, and use a slightly larger or smaller piece of elastic at that point. But yeah, I really enjoyed making it, and I'm really glad I used this fabric. And I think I had about 2 meters of this fabric from Itokri, but it was fairly narrow. I think it's about 115 centimeters wide rather than 150, but I could be wrong there. But definitely narrower, but it just squeezed out of that amount of that length of fabric, so I'm really pleased I squeezed it out of it. And yeah, I think I'll get a lot of wear out of that one, the estuary skirt by So Liberated. That left one fabric remaining from my Itokri fabric haul, and I decided to use a new pattern for this final fabric, and I decided to use this pattern here, a new pattern to me this is, and it's a Forsyth dress by French Navy. I mentioned in my November sewing plans vlog that I've only ever made one pattern by French Navy before, and that was the free pattern, the Stellanti, which I really like. But I really wanted to give another pattern by French Navy a go because I really like their style. So I went for this one, the Forsyth dress, because I thought it would be good for winter layering as well as for summer. So here's the line drawings of it. It's kind of like a dropped waist dress with a panelled bodice. It's got a button down placket at the back, a gathered waist skirt with these kind of nice curved pocket details, and it's got cuffs here on the sleeves, which you can turn up or leave down, however you fancy. And so yeah, this is my, I hadn't made this Delante for a long time, so it felt like I was kind of starting using a French navy pattern as a new thing. And I found the pattern instructions really good. There's lots of detail and lots of actual colour photographs included, and it really breaks down the pattern into lots of very small steps. So I found it really easy to follow. So it's described as a pattern for an advanced beginner, and it has got a few techniques like making the button down placket and adding in the sort of feature pockets. But I think because the instructions are really good and comprehensive, it would be okay enough for an advanced beginner to follow it. And so here's my version here, which I made in this Cath fabric, this navy Cath fabric. What did I do with this one? I've got button down placket at the back and added these little mustard buttons on, which I thought were quite nice, and added a bit of pop of colour. I pretty much follow the pattern as the pattern recommended, so it's a slightly dropped waist. It's got these pockets which are nice, and they go in really well. I chose to leave the cuffs unfolded. I quite like the look of that. It's bias bound at the neckline, which I really like that finish of. And I did French seam everything on this one again, just because of the fraying issue with the Itoku fabric. But because the fabric's nice and light and soft, it does lend itself to French seaming really well, and the seams aren't too bulky, so that's really good. I'll put up a picture of me wearing it. I've gone for a winter layering look in these photos, and I've layered it with a new top I made this month, which is a Freya top by Tilly and the Buttons, in this kind of cool blue jersey colour, which I got from the Maker's Merchant. But I think it would also look lovely as a summer dress too, with a pair of sandals. I made the smallest size in the Forsyth dress pattern. So I made the size extra small. That had a bust of 32, a waist of 24 and a hips of 34. So my bust is 32, but my waist and hips are 26 and 36 respectively, which is would take me into the larger size. But I thought because the waist isn't fitted and the skirt is gathered, that the extra small is okay, and it does fit fine. I can pull it on over my head, and it's a relaxed fit but not too oversized, so I quite like how that fits. But yeah, it was a really nice make actually. I didn't have any issues. I found the pattern instructions really good, and I'll definitely like to make more French navy patterns. I'll definitely be looking to see what else I might like to make of their patterns. I think I'll get a lot of wear out of that one. It's just a nice relaxed day dress. And then, as I said, I made a Tilly and the Buttons Freya top with some fabric I'd had in my stash for a while, because I thought that would be a nice colour for layering with lots of my navy dresses. That's a standard Freya. I've got the book here just to show you the pattern. Here it is. It's just a really great winter top, I find. I used the mock neckline, long sleeves, and a standard size 2, my usual Tilly sizing. And I just love the Freya top. I feel it goes really well with, it would go well with my Clio pinafore, or underneath a dress, or with a pair of jeans. So yeah, I think that'll be a nice winter staple. I have made quite a few Freyas in quite bright jazzy fabric, so it's quite nice to have a couple more. I made a navy one last year and I made this blue one this year. A couple more plain ones that will work well with the more jazzy prints that I can pair them with. So that was my next, or two mix I guess, the Forsyth dress by French Navy and a kind of basic Freya top by Tilly and the Buttons. My final sewing make this month was using this pattern here, the Sudley Blouse and Dress by Megan Nielsen Patterns, one I've used before a couple of times, and I decided this time to make this short sleeve blouse version, this one here actually without the collar. So Sudley is a quite cute little blouse and dress with a little keyhole and ties at the front. That's the detail I really like. And it's got satin sleeves, and it's kind of fairly blousey, it's not too tight fitting, no darts. And I wanted to make a short sleeve version because I've seen this lovely fabric, this viscose crepe with a dobby sort of texture, and I wanted to give it a go using that. I don't know, the camera does. I wasn't sure if the camera would pick it up okay because it can be a bit bright white. But here it is, my Sudley blouse with short sleeves using this viscose crepe fabric. This was, I think, my least favourite make this month because I had a bit of a nightmare with this fabric, to be honest. It's lovely fabric, really drapey. I think it's really cute with the dobby effect, but I did not enjoy sewing with it at all, I must admit. It just stretched. The keyhole neckline went in fine, and I also slightly shortened these ties because they come up very long in my other versions, and I wanted this version to be quite dainty. I did all the stay stitching, which helped with the neckline, but the bit I found that really stretched was these seams here on the shoulders. So I sewed up the keyhole, added the ties, I sewed the shoulder seams as well, and then I put the sleeves in, and I French seamed them, so it took a bit of time to get the sleeves in, French seaming them, but I wanted this to last, and this is kind of delicate fabric, so I thought that was the best way to go. But when I put it on, the shoulders kind of went down to about here, and they're not supposed to be drop shoulders down to here, and on my other versions they haven't been. And it didn't look right at all with the kind of sleeves set in slightly, with a slight gathering from there. So I was a bit disappointed, but I didn't want to waste the fabric, so I thought, well, I'm going to fix this. So I basically unpicked the sleeves, and then I essentially cut a new shaping around the shoulder to take off a lot of this fabric that's stretched. Yeah, that was a bit of a pain, and it was kind of almost like doing like a quick and dirty narrow shoulder adjustment, which I never usually have to do because I don't have particularly narrow shoulders. So I did that and reset the sleeves in, and to be fair now, it does look a lot better, and I'll put a picture up of me wearing it so you can see how it looks on. I think it looks okay, and I think where the shoulder seams sit now is okay, and I've kind of got away with it. But yeah, by then I was a little bit despondent about the whole thing, and I kind of finished it feeling a bit ugh. So yeah, at the moment it's not my favourite garment, just because yeah, it was a bit of a faff and it was a bit disappointing. I had my walking foot on, and I was quite careful with the fabric, so I'm not sure what I could have done to avoid it stretching. I guess I could have stay stitched along the shoulder seams before I sewed them. It's never something I've had to do before. But yeah, it wasn't the most fun fabric ever to sew with. And I don't know what I did wrong really, but here it is, it's finished, and I do think it's quite cute, and I will definitely be wearing it. I made the smallest size, and then I actually just took it in a little bit on the side seams as well, just because the fabric's quite floaty and blousey. I don't want it to feel too big and blousy. But yeah, that's my Sudley blouse. Oh, and I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who commented with their suggestions on what I should do because the fabric's quite sheer. I did decide to get a couple of slip tops I've just got them from Marks and Spencer's in the end, a couple of just white slip tops, and they work really well underneath. So thank you so much for your ideas on that. I'm really glad to have solved that problem, and I think lining this would not have been fun, so I'm glad I didn't do that in the end. But yeah, there it is, my Sudley blouse by Megan Nielsen in viscose crepe dobby. Yeah, I'm pleased it's done. So that's all my sewing projects that I've been busy making in November. But I've also got two knitting projects I wanted to share. One's a garment and one is a cat. So I'll start with the garment, and it's this, I made it using this pattern here, the Rico, what number is it? Rico 473. It's a cable knit jumper and cardigan pattern, and I decided to knit the cardigan pattern because I thought I'd got more wear out of that in my wardrobe. So I knitted it in this lovely red wool. It's a Stylecraft chunky wool. The pattern calls for chunky wool. The pattern actually calls for an alpaca blend, but I wasn't sure if that would bother my skin, because I find wool often does bother my skin, and also it was quite expensive, and I wanted to start with something a little bit less pricey. So I went for an acrylic chunky wool. And I bought a little bit extra wool just to be on the safe side, because I can know if you often buy a different type of wool, you can come up with a slightly different length. So I really enjoyed knitting up this cardigan. I really like cable knitting, and it knits up quite quickly because it is a chunky wool. I made the smallest size, which is to fit bust 32 to 34 inches, and I'm quite pleased with the fit. I'll put a couple of pictures up so you can see what it looks like on. The only adjustment I made is I actually reduced the length of the sleeves. I knitted up the garment, and then I knitted up one sleeve to be able to check the length. And when I kind of just pinned it on, it was really long, which is quite unusual because I often actually lengthen sleeves in patterns. So I was quite surprised. So I just had to knit back a little bit, I think I took about 3 centimetres off or so, and then re-knitted it, and then I knitted the second sleeve once I knew how many rows and what length I'd done for the first sleeve. But I'll put it on as well so you can see it in the flesh. It's really, because it's chunky wool and it's cable knit, it's super cosy. Yeah, it was a really fun make, and my mum said she might have a go at this pattern too, because she quite liked it too. So here it is. Yeah, it's really cosy, nice and snuggly, and even with having reduced the sleeves, they're still plenty long, I think. So yeah, hopefully I'll get a lot of wear out of it. Yeah, as I said, I wouldn't recommend it for a beginner. I think when I initially had a look at this pattern, I'm not that good at reading knitting patterns. I'm fairly new to them, and I think I thought it was described as suitable for beginners, but actually it's an intermediate pattern, and I wouldn't say it was probably suitable for beginners, just because it does get a bit complicated with keeping track of the cable knit. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to knit, and I'm really happy with the colour. And I'm on the lookout for another knitting pattern, for another cardigan or jumper or something like that, because I love a little bit of knitting on the sofa on an evening. So that was that. And then the other knitting project I made this month was from the Knitted Cats and Kittens book that I'm working my way through by Sue Stratford. And my son, this was on my son this time, he chose this one. And I think it's one of my favourites so far. It's this little sweet Siamese. Yeah, so I think she's quite cute. She's got little blue eyes, little brown ears, little brown legs that are kind of, I put a pipe cleaner in there to get them a little bit of rigidity, and then a little tail at the back that's got a pipe cleaner too, a little red collar. And the cool thing I found with this one is I discovered linen thread, and I've used linen thread to make her little whiskers. It's a lot, has a lot more structure to it than a normal standard thread, so it gives them a little bit of, they sort of stick out nicely, and they're supposed to be a bit higgledy-piggledy like that. So that's Sweet Siamese. So she's added to the collection of knitted cats in our house, which is ever growing, and I'm already knitting another one, so I'll be sharing another knitted cat with you in my next makes video. But yeah, Sweet Siamese was a lot of fun to knit, and I don't know whether it's a boy or a girl, but I think they're pretty cute, whichever one it is. So that's all my November makes. Thank you so much for watching. I'm not sure what my next vlog will be, but I'm hoping to be back again soon. If you haven't subscribed yet, then please do subscribe, and also if you could like this video, I'd be grateful. And yeah, I'll hopefully see you again soon. I hope you have a great day. Thanks again. Bye bye.